Hello gang, it's Wayne here again with this week's video tutorials. Sorry for the late revision of these. So this first one is going to be the sales totals exercise for ABC Company that I think I probably first handed out maybe 2 weeks ago, but was homework last week. And with this exercise, we're going to create a spreadsheet summarizing sales totals for ABC Toys Company's sales team, and we're going to do two things. One, enter the data into a table. Data was provided at the bottom. List the sales totals provided below for August to October. Include blank columns for November to January, and create totals for each month at the bottom and for each salesperson going across. And then we're going to format the tables using these instructions here. So to make things simple for myself, I copied all these instructions into Excel, and I've already entered my data, as I'm sure you could do without too much difficulty. So here's the information that we were meant to enter, just as it was in the table in the Word document, and I've included the title up here. All right, so where do we start? We've listed each sales number, sort of each sales rep name and their sales totals, and we've included blank columns. Let's create totals for each month and for each salesperson. Okay, so first of all, let me just go ahead and give this new line of totals a title. So I'll type that in, and then you can use whatever way you want to use for summing. I would just say for the assessment purposes, make sure you're using the sum function, because that's what will get you full marks. So I'll do this first one just using AutoSum, and it's found the range I want to add up. I'll just say that's fine, and then I'm going to use autofill to drag that total across to all of these. Okay, great. So that part was done, pretty straightforward. And because it's interesting that it may not have bolded for you, I think I did some work here previously. So if this was not bold for you, then you might want to go ahead and make that bold right off the bat so your totals stand out. Okay, now I want to total up the sales for each salesperson, so which means I'm going to create a total going across. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add another title, and I'll call this not just totals, but how about salesperson's totals. And then same thing, and this time I'll just enter the command. So at sum, open brackets, and then I'm going to select the range I want to total. Hit enter, it puts in the parentheses for me, as you can see up here. And then I'll do the same thing and just autofill this down to the bottom. Perfect. And if I want to continue, let's see here. So interesting now, if I decide to autofill this total down here, I'm going to get totals, because these were totaling from G through L. If I look at this one, for example, you'll see it's sum G12 to L12. So G12 to L12. If I copy this formula down here, this total here, I'm going to get, this is now the total G13 to L13, which is the total of each month. Is that any different than the total from each salesperson? Let's see. I'm going to now redo this and have this auto sum the top. And it is ended up to be the same number. I guess if you add up all the totals for each salesperson, that's going to be the same for each month. But just be aware that there may be cases where that total doesn't add up. Okay, that's that. I've totaled all columns. Now what does it say? Now we're going to go to formatting. So make the total stand out in some way. I think the way I'm going to do this one is I'll do this one more time just by using standard formatting. So I'm going to do a fill up here. I'll make this one, let's just make it blue. In fact, let's make the text white. Disappears for a second because it's on a white background. Then I'll make the background blue. Then I'm going to come down to my totals. I'll make those white as well. And then I'll make those maybe not yellow. How about that? Okay, great. all the columns are wide enough. Let's see if I'm just going to use AutoFit here for my columns. Format, AutoFit column width. Okay, so it's done it, except this one here is much wider, and that's because my title is in that column. I'm going to fix that, but for the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to move my title out of the way. So I'm going to move it, hover over the edge, that hand symbol, which is similar to the 4 cross symbols you'll get on your laptop, on your computer. Mine is a Mac, so they show some different things, but I'll move it over here so it's not in my columns. And then I'm going to select all the columns again and do Format, AutoFit column width. Okay, good. So that's my width's done. I'll move this back in a second when I'm ready. Let's see what else was here. Has an appropriate title. Okay, that's entered. And the column headers and salesperson names are somehow highlighted. Okay, so I'm going to highlight these names. You don't need to, but this is just, it's just part of finding ways to make your information easy for people to understand. Maybe I'll make this blue like the top. Okay. All right, so that's most of the instructions. Now let's put the title back. We want to try and put it somewhere in the middle. So if I put it there, it looks like it's kind of centered, but I'll make sure of it by selecting the row for the entire width of the table. Then I'm going to choose Merge and Center, and then make sure that my row height is what it needs to be. I'll just drag it down quite simply. Okay, so I think that's most of this part of the exercise. That was doing that, and then we'll go on to the next part of the exercise, which was handed out as homework as well, which involves sorting some data. But that's step 1, and I think most of you are probably pretty comfortable with doing that kind of thing right now. Let me do one last thing, and I'm going to just make these totals over here, I'll make them bold as well, just so they stand out. And we're done. All right. Next video, we'll take up the second exercise for this.